Welcome back, everybody, to week 5 of CCL over here with these two casters we got going on right here. Myself, Mick, joined side along, who I'm going to say his name properly is Proper. So how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Sometimes the very slithery, snaky of an ass can work its way in there. But though I wish that I could have any sort of resemblance to the godlike individual of John Prosper on our management for the CCL. I'm just not there quite yet, but I'm doing good. Fantastic day filled with a lot of good college COD action. We had some great matches being showcased yesterday, and as split one is coming towards a little bit of an ending. We got our horizon set for split number 2 and playoffs towards the end of that.
Yeah, it's mentioning split number 2 and the matchups that we've had going on today. We just saw an awesome matchup just finish up here on, the Bravo channel, with these guys going up against each other. We saw it was Kennesaw and UTK, a great matchup right there against those two guys overall. But and then following up with that. But now that we're sitting here looking at New Jersey Institute of Technology and Brock University Red, both these guys looking really good in terms of standings, definitely in that upper echelon right now. Not exactly doing too terrible overall, not sending up to the likes of the guys who are at the top of the rankings and everything, but overall just having a really impressive showing and really duking it out to see who exactly is going to stand out when it comes around to these splits and who could be a threat to be looking out for.
Yeah, so this is one of those regions that have a total of 12 teams per division. So they still have a handful of matches between both of these two teams to play. This is the Metropolitan region, and this is the B division is where this matchup is currently happening at. And this is the same region, keep in mind, you opposite division of number 4 Aiden O'Sheridan College, 7-1 Ryerson Rams, number 8 6-2 Humber Gold, in the same exact division as number 7-1 Carleton Ravens as well. So there's a lot of stacked talent throughout the entirety of the metropolitan region, to say the least, as far as top 25 rankings are concerned. But even still, for these teams such as NJIT Red to be able to be 5-2 inside a very stacked region and division within its own self is a nice strength to behold for itself going in towards the second split. Now, you still have to face Humber Blue down the road. It's probably your toughest matchup this split, apart from Carleton Ravens, which they've already had faced. You should feel pretty comfortable with your placing to be working your way inside of split number 2. But the next question would be, how do you end up going against these top dogs? Because you really want to be able to be a top 4 finishing in split number 2, so that way you can already qualify for playoffs. But this BU Red roster at 4-2, on the cusp of potentially either being knocked out to a team that is slowly creeping up, given that there are still a handful of matches to still be played for this split number 1. And if they can somehow escape with a win over NJIT Red, then they might be feeling a little bit better with their hopes and dreams going in towards the second split and even playoffs.
Yeah, mentioning these guys of Carleton University and the likes of that, we also, in their division, have also seen the likes of Rutgers Black, or Rutgers overall just being a super impressive team as well. I sat there and had the pleasure of casting those two teams that go against each other with Rutgers and Carleton, and overall just an insane kind of matchup that we witnessed that night, and we saw a lot of skill all around. So hopefully, really looking forward to seeing what these guys can bring to the table to show, when they sit there and go into that next split, have to sit there and duke it out and, face each other, especially closing out this first. Overall, just how they can perform and show what they're capable of. But it looks like we're already here in the hard point up against Ray. We're seeing some entry frags right here from, NGIT, mostly Tetra, but not exactly able to follow up on that point so far, as Lux and Zebus gets locked out and BU following up and getting an early advantage here on the board.
New Jersey Institute of Technology, they are 7-2 overall for hard point. They have not played this map mode combo quite yet, and well, that's actually starting to come through, at least for the opening break. But you're in a tough spot as far as positioning is concerned. BU Red, they do have the more, I guess, wanted start for this map. That's over by the P2 spawns, where you can really get a lot of point value towards your bank. But no one all this time to really go up towards NJIT, because when it comes down to raid hardpoint, it all comes through the middle of the map when you're thinking about these rotations. But as P1 is about to come to a close in about 5 seconds, we're going to be looking towards the rotation. And again, BU Red, they are set up. But with these 2 kills coming through for NJIT, or against them rather, they're going to have to probably wait a solid 15 seconds before they can work their way into kitchen.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at that P1 to P2. You do usually, as we see these guys duking it out right here behind kitchen, surprising nobody's really going for that mid control yet, because, right after this, they're going to have to rotate right over to garage, and we see them kind of going back and forth in here. Nobody exactly locking it down, but, Brock University doing a great job overall, getting that stand, as Coolix is going to sit there and get whacked right there by Locks. Oh man, but Kool-Aid's going to follow it up as best as possible, get himself on this point, try and hold down money in that center as we're coming down to 20 seconds left on this timer when they have to, just about the time they're going to be considering to go ahead and looking at these rotations, looking at garages. We already see NJIT trying to set up for that as best as possible.
Yeah, you got Locks already over there, but you already have a handful of members threatening through the middle of the map. Look where Records is already starting to put themselves closer towards Zig. So now for Jersey Institute, you want to just zone away. You got players inside of Red. That's a good start. P3 is about to pop. That's a big kill over towards Zig onto Kool-Aid to be able to potentially open up the threat to break inside of P3 early, but the close spawns over towards the AC unit are here for NJIT. They're already starting to lose some gunfights, keep in mind you, but they have a good spread of things where they should be able to hold on towards the first 30.
Yeah, and the AC spawns are huge right here with it being so close, because when you're on any other kind of spawn, it's going to be coming from either mid or it's going to be coming from, over there in the garage and where rocks are. And overall, that's just way too readable of a situation to be in when you're trying to push onto this point. And being the likes of NJIT right now with Brock doing a good job trying to, retaliate, and also trying to establish themselves well enough to get this point advantage, keep going and trying to get themselves to duke it out, get that tie and hopefully get an advantage going forward. But overall, just looking at kills and how these guys are all holding out, I mean, across the board, everything's seeming to be pretty, evened out. Even though we're not seeing as many points from one side as the other, we are seeing a fair amount of action from both teams, whether or not, it's on the point or not, because even right there, we see Speed getting a pretty clean double with the 74U and trying to lock down that 4 sites so far. But overall, all these guys, and they're holding around, 7-8 kills. Zeva's probably being the only one who's like, lacking a little bit, but he's trying to catch up as best as he can. But in the meanwhile, you got Money G making up for it, and these guys just trying to, catch up as best they can against the likes of Brock.
Red, I mean, when it just comes down to threatening every single setup that New Jersey Institute are instantly have. I mean, from top to bottom, as far as KD is concerned, with Money G at 14-9, like you were starting to really pin there, Mickey. You would think that this game would start to escape, but Red, they're always flooding in with numbers. They're always constantly finding these trades. But inside the basketball court so far, 40 seconds will go back and forth, some over towards the game clock, but still competitive, just about 8 seconds in between these two teams. And standing firm so far will be New Jersey, having 3 wins, 3-1, and so far throughout split number 1 will be BU Red on this map mode combo, but they're really getting handed not only their rears as far as slaying is concerned, but also as far as rotations. But P5 comes through, it will pop. BU Red, they will be here initially, and they have a really good spread of things as well. They're zoning away for kills, but New Jersey, they're already threatening from kitchen.
And we see Brock already setting up here on this P5 as they kind of just gave away to New Jersey that P4 right there. They had it for a little bit, went back and forth and said, you know what, we have enough of an advantage to go ahead and carry on with this. We now see these guys duking around in the courtyard right here. Money G locking it down as best as they possibly can, showing that what he's in the situation he is with these kills, and he's holding down the objective with that. Finally getting the highlight that he needs so far, because these guys have been kind of going back and forth. We see these players doing really well holding themselves up, but they haven't exactly found a way to find some points on the board. So now we do see Brock finding themselves back onto this P5, but once you get to around this stage, New Jersey is already looking for rotation, as we see, Brock also trying to make a retaliation over there on towards Laundry side, but they're going to do their best to try and hold this down, go ahead and, get set up as best as possible with how close the score is. You can take a little losses here and there in terms of kills in terms of time, because overall, I mean, you can get kills all day, but we've already seen in the earlier stage with New Jersey, they had the kills on the board, but they just couldn't exactly get those points. So, as things kind of refresh, Money G's going to get a double, and we're going to sit there and see how this plays out once we kind of start from square one.
Yeah, back over towards P1 we go for sure. That's when spawns can go absolutely haywire. You saw Money G came in through jungle, found a quick little 2-piece, and the second that P1 popped in, Jersey Institute, they got the initial time. Spawns flipped out for P2, and then Brock spawned right behind Money G. So very funny little interaction of things, but very even Stevens as far as going through the first set is concerned. We had breaks for breaks, 30s for 30s, 20s for 40s. A lot of time actually going over towards the game clock as well. But when it comes down to it, the first time before this split on this map combo, New Jersey don't look too bad at all. And they're looking pretty comfortable on the back end of Money G, just absolutely frying at 21-18. Going into this, Records has a 2.10 KD for hardpoint. And, well, they're at 19-16. And although there's a very nice KD ratio, it's just not up to the pressure that a player like Money G is truly bringing to the table for all of New Jersey.
Yeah, mention these players, looking like the Money G and, all these guys who are kind of going positive, JT Speed and, Cool Tux right now. It's just really weird to see how these guys, these guys are spotlighted. You don't have those usual players rotating around the points trying to fight it out. No, we see Money G getting on that point, getting into as much combat as possible and really showing that, hey, okay, we can get on this point and we can fight on it instead of having to rotate around, lock them down before they get to it. I mean, I know that's important and all, but I'm really good at getting kills here. So let me sit there, and Record's going to show he's getting a lot of kills as well, getting a quick little double right there in Kitchen, doing his best he can to, try and get that point established, but not able to clear it out as best as possible. But they do get a couple points on the board before moving over to this P3. But just overall, we do see a pretty nice split in terms of how the kills are related to the time, and seeing these guys duke it out to where everything is being taken on this points. There's a lot of influence around it. That's what we love to see. Because that's what creates these close games, which is looking like a 3-point difference right now.
Oh, I got a really scary spot there. You try to contest P2 a little bit too late. Jersey didn't have the close AC spawns, and Chugs almost broke in here, but we'll be here for the initial time. 20 seconds are about to pass in Jersey. They got a pretty good spread of things, but Brock already threatening it from Zig. They got a couple of kills. You need this kill to come through, but Kool-Aid will be able to lock things down on a JT Speed. It's just up to Locks to hold on to this back 30, and they're doing a good job so far.
Locks doing a good thing when it comes down to locking these sites down, because, man, he's there, got a couple kills right there, held it, got a little kind of picked out right there, but overall, BU Red flooding in here, trying to, scrap whatever time they can left, getting these contests going on. Chugs and JT right here trying to go back and forth. And I don't think these guys are too concerned when they don't have points going up, but Brock ended up winning that right there. No, NJIT, I'm sorry, ended up winning that gunfight right overall. But especially when you're in those situations, kind of going back and forth, you're kind of settling. We saw those two guys going prone for a little bit, settling kind of with the fact that they saw each other on point, because when you're so close, you want to fight for these points. But overall, I mean, if you're sitting there, when you're looking at that mini map, you're trying to figure out what your team's setting up for, and you're just hoping you get the advantage. Speaking of advantages, Records with one right there on a Predator missile, locking down 2 kills overall, really helping themselves clean at that point, establish themselves to get ready.
Jersey, they're past the 200-point margin, but Brock, like you just called out, Records calling in that cruise missile at 32 and 20. They still have an artillery strike to play with. Whether or not they use the ping or not, definitely threatening to be able to break past the 200-point threshold and get the lead back in their favor. There it is, past 200 points. Still threatening from the front will be Brock. Chugs is going to be here. So far, so good with the XM4 in hand. We'll be past 210 points, but Jersey, they don't want them to get too comfortable over on side of P4. Just marginal time over towards the game clock, but it's just zoning for Jersey so far. They just want to be able to find these kills through the open staircase, but they're not finding the trades as well as Brock so far. And, well, this 1v1 over inside of P5 might just mean anything. And Money G with the Diamante will take down Records, but needs to keep their life. No reinforcements to speak of.
Yeah, the closest reinforcements we see right now is Zeb is trying to follow it up over here, but he just can't exactly get those picks when he doesn't have any help overall. We do see Money G trying to push it around over here on the side towards Pool, trying to close in as best as possible. It gets picked off by Records. And getting a double kill, actually, and then Cool Tux just adding an exclamation point to the end of that sentence, as these guys are now going to sit there and switch the momentum, get themselves a 240-213 lead, and they could easily just win the game right here if they don't have any kind of, curveball coming their way.
Yeah, the pings came through. You saw from the artillery strike on Records POV. They knew exactly where the hit was coming from. But Jersey, they still break in from Kitchen. So this scrap time will be fought over. But here comes the artillery strike being called in. We'll go over inside of P5. Records will only find 1. It's not going to be good enough to break back in here, but it's just 2 seconds here that all they need to close out the game, Nick. They have the spacing on P1. JT Speed has to go big here. They find 1, but they might just be traded out. No, JT Speed with the break. They will be here for the initial time.
Yeah, and we see Zebas over here in the back trying to lock it down, getting hit in the back right there by all Kool-Aid, but they're definitely giving us a game to work with. We're at a 245 to 249. And as long as NJIT can hold this down right now, they're still looking at it. Oh, my goodness. A great little closure right there for them with a 249 to 250 game from these two. What an opener.
The artillery strike got pinged there at the end. You saw from Records' perspective. They didn't end up calling in the missile drop, but they thought that they were just comfortable enough having the information that the hit was coming through Kitchen. They had those spawns continuously. They had them trapped towards jungle for so many different gunfights, but then one good break. 18 seconds is what we fought for over by P5. I talked about how you always wanted to be fighting for the middle of the map. Where's P5 located at? Smack dab in the middle of the pit, in the middle of the map. That rotation from 5 into 1 for a new set of hills meant that New Jersey Institute of Technology Red could then work their way XM4s and submachine guns into Spiral. They had players in Laundry over on top of the staircase heady on the rail guard, as well as Spiral. And the zoning was just too pristine. A handful of gunfights going the way for Jersey there at the end. They're able to close out with a single point, just with breaking P5 with 18 seconds remaining. Records could not do it all, but with JT speed and that big two-piece at the end inside P1 for a handful more times. Man, that is that's a hard point on Raid that BU Red might just lose a handful of sleep or a handful of hours of sleep over.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I mean, they can't beat themselves up too much about it. These guys put up 249. They just weren't able to end it and close it out like they wanted to. But I mean, they still had plenty more matches to sit there and show promise for that. But overall, when it comes to hardpoint, I mean, these guys, they both showed a lot of promise. They were really good at knowing where to cut their losses, where to sit there and say, okay, we can go ahead and look at this next point. We can try and rotate as best as possible, get in that situation and try and lock it down. And these guys show that they've definitely read each other, and they've sat there and watched each other play before, and they know how they operate, because these guys were finding ways to infiltrate them. They were waiting out times where they knew they could sit there and take the slack for it, and they were just kind of going back and forth. And it really just came down to those last couple seconds, which is really, I mean, as long as the game may be, those last couple seconds when you're as close as these two teams, that's what all it comes down to.
So now we move over towards the Garrison Search and Destroy, where we might just end up seeing things either really break through for New Jersey Institute Technology Red, or if Brock University can guarantee us a map number 4, which will be played on Checkmate. You can see the entire map set just above our heads. Checkmate Control is the guaranteed map number 3. For a potential swing map mode combo, we'll have to see again. It's all in the court for Brock University. And going in towards Search and Destroy, just like I was talking about for New Jersey, is that on that raid hardpoint, they never played that map mode combo. They were able to quite literally rip the rugs out from underneath the feet of Brock University with a 1-point win to close it out. But on Garrison Search and Destroy, they played it once. Jersey, they are 1-0 here. Brock University, they have not played on this map mode combo, but overall, for Search and Destroy, Brock University, they are 57% win percentage at 4-3, 5-3 for New Jersey at 62.5%. Might just have the upper hand as far as Search and Destroy is concerned, but this is easily both a weak game mode for them. It's going to be interesting to see what set strategies we still have to come out with, because Garrison Search and Destroy is no easy feat. There's no way you're ever making it towards that A site, not unless you're in a 3v1 situation. You already flew past the middle of the map. No smokes, no snipers, Mick. So it's got to be a little bit of trickery through the vents in top green to be able to see where these picks and advantages come from.
Yeah, and I also think it comes down to those mid lineups. You know, we sit there and have, it almost feels like you can see from one spawn to the other when you sit there and get lined up right across and where the tank is and over there in the center of the map. And, you know, I feel like that's where these assault rifles are really going to show. We saw during raid hardpoint, these guys did a really good job of closing in, establishing those zones, you know, zoning each other out, finding ways to manipulate the map to their advantage. But in Garrison, I mean, it's almost completely different at this point, because, you know, the area kind of long and short, they're not as well connected, so you can't exactly have these teammates too close to each other have an eye. Otherwise you feel like you're just wasting manpower in the end. So overall, I mean, these guys were just all around dropping frags left and right, doing a great job of maintaining themselves on an individual basis as well as a team. So I mean, as we sit there and go into this first round, we're going to see NJIT going ahead and trying to get in the setup, because Kool-Aid going with the solo rush over here on the B site, trying to be all sneaky about it, but it looks like Money G is going to be waiting for him.
Chugs will be first blooded here. That's not going to help things out for Brock as far as an offense is concerned, but Records, nice little trade comes through. That's top green to the advantage. So now Records, they can just play here, just toying with the idea of going inside of B. And you can see as well with the mini-map, Jersey, they don't have anybody inside of vents, not anymore, but you still have locks over here by square, just locking and threading down the sight line. 50 seconds left to play for Brock University to try to get this bomb over towards the site.
Yeah, and it's odd to see how these guys are locking down so much on this B side right now. When, I mean, at this point, you can sit there and look at Catwalk, which you see these guys over on NJIT, you know, trying to lock down, but not exactly, because Brock, it looks like they were trying to make their way. Not exactly able to make it, but Records making a play, beating a man's skull in over there on mid, and Kool-Aid capitalizing that as we now see NJIT. JT's got to sit there and make a move.
Oh, the timing!
Able to get the man right there, right before the bomb goes down. At this point, they're just going to hound them down. Brock University getting that first point. I mean, not much JT not much JT could do. I'm sorry, but overall, just an impressive showing. Just sitting there showing that there may be one man left, but I mean, we got plenty to allocate. We got plenty of manpower behind our force. I mean, we can fight this no matter how many people are left.
Yeah, and they knew exactly where JT was located at, too. Last remaining player over by Square inside of Cobble. They were hitting inside of Green. Found that one timely kill, but there's just no way you make the heads-up play that, oh, I should go inside of the offensive team spawn. So Brock will be able to close out their offensive round. Now Jersey looking to do the same exact thing. Again, the B control, you can see from Brock, even from the X-ray perspective, you got players in and around the fence. Chugs tries to step up a little bit too early. They will be first-blooded again.
That's a real shame if I'm in Chug's position. It almost feels like you can't play the game at this point. But I mean, the match just got to slow down a little bit. But we do see these guys. We see Speed picking off Tux. We see Kool-Aid getting a trade out and grabbing Money G. So I mean, overall, you sit there and you lose another AK-74. You're losing these close quarter combats, and especially when you're on defense, trying to lock down this B site, retaliate to these guys on Brock, trying to move in on it and play defense. I mean, that's huge overall, especially with B kind of like being so close quarters. You don't exactly have these long kind of engagements, but Kool-Aid showing that doesn't really matter. My AK-74U is doing a little bit better for me today. It's hitting a little different. So, I mean, we're going to sit there, patrol around the map a little more and see if we can even give the guys in New Jersey a chance to move in on these bombs. As JT's looking at B right now.
I'm going to have to try to plant and stick it. 15 seconds remaining. No, it's just actually just going to hit it out. The Records will find another player for Jersey. It's going to leave JT in a 1v odd situation, 1v2. Keep in mind that's the information, and then try to work their way over towards A. It will be a free plant. Time will be pushed up towards 45 seconds. 2v1 for a retake here. Records and Kool-Aid both have 3 kills to their name. JT is going to try to go for a challenge. Gets the isolated 1v1 versus Records. Eats a tag. Now it's going to have another isolated 1v1. No, the timing is not good this time around. Now the old merry-go-round around the cargo containers is going to be good for Kool-Aid. We'll be able to get the final kill needed. And Brock University, they go up 2-0 in the search.
Man, when you sit there, you almost want to root for JT Speed at a point, because I mean, the man's always left in a kind of 1v something situation going on here. He always gets a pick, and especially 1v3, that's not as likely, but especially when you put in a 1v2 and the man's going to guarantee at least 1 kill going forward, and you get into that 1v1 situation, just unfortunate timing right there for the man. He sat there, he got the little peek going on, but just couldn't react quick enough to get around that corner, heal himself up to actually give himself an upper hand in that fight. Because I mean, once you get that bomb down, you're really on defense. I mean, he pushed over there towards Records pretty hard when he was kind of in those areas. But I mean, overall, I think the star player that round there was Kool-Aid, getting 2 of those picks on the outside, isolating these guys and totally just stripping them up as a team and making it feel like they're all on a stranded island.
Another offense coming through for Rock University. Trunks will be the first blooded this time around. They saw the bomb, but the play inside the fence is going to be good now for a 3v2, the advantage for the defensive Jersey.
Yeah, and we finally get to see what Chugs is made of, not being that first blood this time around. Man can finally get some kills on the board, possibly get a plant and sit there and, put these guys on New Jersey on their toes when they have to sit there and kind of play offense once the bomb gets put down. But it doesn't seem like that's too, likely right now, with Chugs getting a close in right there. And then we're going to see Money G retaliating and showing that, you ain't going to take me out, my man, without me talking back to you. So they do have the bomb out there in the open. They're going to try to look for that, find a way to get that bomb back, as New Jersey wants to find a way to get it down. They're still looking at that B site, but Rock University, they have a 2-0 advantage right now, and they would love to close it out, but not able to so far, with a 2-1 lead still from Brock, but New Jersey showing they're still in this.
Yeah, and again, this comes through Money G playing inside the fence. You get some very unique timing. And this, I started shaking my head. I don't know what Zebus was thinking. Just dropping down from top catwalk without fully clearing out the other side of the staircase over by P1. But you know what? Maybe he thought something was there a lot sooner, and it was a whole lot more clear than what we have with the gracious pleasure of having both minimap and the X-ray vision. But even still, good round for Jersey. Looking to string together a couple rounds here. It's going to have to be an offense. And again, JT Speed at 5-2 has really been the cornerstone of success so far for Jersey in these rounds. Whether it's 1v odd situations, they will be the bomb carrier. Some noise being thrown to the middle of the map. It will be Records first blooded. That's a raid boss down if you're looking at this from Jersey's perspective, and Lox was able to keep their life.
Yep, Locke's trying to do his best to lock down that B side over there. It seems to be that main kind of area where these guys are looking at so far. We've seen a lot of retaliation back and forth, and NJIT just getting a quick little close right there on B side. You know, when you focus too much on the site, you don't allocate your men out, and you're not trying to go for these wild card plays or anything of the likes, and, you know, get yourself all in like a little compressed area. I mean, that's a real kind of easy game right there for New Jersey when they sit there and they're doing really well with these gunfights, setting themselves up really solid. And overall, just getting a quick little round on the board and not even let these guys think about, you know, getting the bomb down. I mean, they sat there and closed it out way too quick, and it doesn't even seem like the objective is in play until you get into a 1v3 situation like we saw with JT Speed earlier. Overall, these guys just doing a great job of just making sure to close in and put it just almost at like an FBI in a sense, where these guys just kind of like lock in. They sit there and almost surround these guys and hound them down as they slowly go to their demise.
2 rounds in a row for both of these teams, knotted up at 2 apiece now. Offensive side for Brock University again. It's been all B side. Garrison search and destroy will more than likely always be Locks with the cross. We'll get the information, but not going to be good enough for the kill. But at least they know where some players might be located at. But as you see the arrows move through the middle of the map, Cool Tucks will find Money G. That's first blood.
And we see NJIT get another man picked off right there. Zebus, Locks, and Money G sitting out right now. JT Speed in another situation where he has to clutch this out. I mean, the man, he sat there. He hasn't disappointed too much overall, having positive, but I mean, you can only put a man in a situation too many times like that where he's going back and forth trying to sit there and clutch rounds out. I mean, you guys have to sit there and be as a team now. You guys have to sit there and follow Speed. You'll have to follow these other guys and try and do like Locks does. Get these locks on these points. You know, sit there and hound these guys in, close them in, and sit there and hopefully get another round on the board overall. We're looking at offense, you know, there's been B back and forth so much. You guys have to have a read on each other at this point to find a way to, you know, sneak around the back, get a bomb down, and put these defenders on their toes.
Don't want too much momentum going in and stirring inside the pot for Jersey. Big 3 kills coming through for records there. Finds himself up at 7-3 now. So looking for that first kill is going to be Zebus. Offensive round here for Jersey. Bomb being carried by JT Speed again. They have constantly gone over inside of dark, just waiting for a player to potentially pop out from vents. But Money G will then see that there's a trophy system in play here. Get some information from a player over by square. But that's not exactly something that you want to try to push. Just has to keep finessing through the middle of the map. There's still a minute left to play in this round.
Yeah, and we see Zebus over there looking on the side, looking in green, trying to push up on that, or possibly just at least considering it. We see Locks and Chugs kind of in a Mexican standoff over there on the side, but not exactly looking at each other overall, as they're going to try and push a little bit more towards this B site now, trying to make a little close as the defenders sit there and get an idea, but Cool Tux shuts it down and says, no, they're still at B. You guys don't rotate. If anything, we need to start looking at getting all... when you get records over here a little bit, try and close this in a little more, get these guys in a situation where they can't do much. And, you know, JT Speed showing that they're still in this. These guys are going to be at a 3v3 now. They're just looking out on the side. Locks finally shut down that trophy system. They got him earlier. And these guys are going to be locking it down, it looks like, as Locks is going to be looking at the bomb right here, sitting on top of it. And these guys just got Quotux cornered in a situation right now. And when you're in a situation, there's not much you can do. I mean, they know exactly where he is now. He's sucking lights, able to try and manage as much as he can out on courtyard, but just, cornered animal right there, but didn't get the chance to bite back.
Waited until about 28 seconds to make that play happen inside the round. Even at a numbers disadvantage, it was Zebus that was top server, top green, made that play happen. They challenged records over by the satellite truck and was able to find that kill. That was a big influential kill. And then you saw JT Speed was able to finesse through the middle of the map, having coverage from Locks as well. Big execution over towards the B site with just 28 seconds remaining. Good patience coming out from Jersey. We do switch sides yet again. Very tight affair here on Garrison Search and Destroy. And well, who would have guessed, as it was just 1 second in between the hard point to split these two teams. But Brock University on the offensive will find themselves in a numbers advantage. Money G inside the fence sees the shoulder being thrown. Yeah, Kool-Aid. No, that is not a wall that you try to burst through, to my head.
Cool standoff right there with Money G taking a couple shots over there on Vent. They know exactly where he's at. They're going to try and close him in. But that doesn't matter because Records and Cool Tut's getting a double right there. Brock closing out that round, a 4-3 advantage, showing that, you know, we can only go, we're going to go back and forth on B all day. We're going to eventually catch on to what you got going. We're going to close it out. And, you know, we can sit there and do it on defense, and we're going to see and looking if we can do it on offense as well going forward. We're seeing a lot of back and forth on the same exact site. And, you know, you have to question yourself, when are these teams going to look at going for a different side overall? I mean, and you may need those guys who are kill leads to sit there and take the advantage right now. Usually you want to look at back and forth and say, you know, do we want to get our kill lead going forward? Do we want to get our, you know, one guy who's just kind of like, he feels like an anchor, but he can still create a wild card and get that bomb down. But overall, it looks like they just need to get the likes of JT Speed or Money G for New Jersey to push this A site. But once again, they're going to be going towards B. Or even then, just looking at the likes of Records going 9-4 right now. I mean, just man's getting these trades, and he's just really put himself on the board overall, as we still don't see a single kill for this round yet.
Records, they're just that player that is playing the heady over by the tac set. Just waiting for anybody to go over inside top green, but the hit is through mid. Nice coverage and cross angles as well as team shots come through for Jersey. Find themselves in a 2-player advantage, 4v2. Money G sees Kool-Aid down range, trying to lock down and find the trades. Records does kill off Zebus. 3v2 we go with 30 seconds remaining. Bomb still looming in the distance in the area of the B site.
Records doing what he does best, getting that kill right there, trying as best as possible to, you know, even out the odds right there. You still have that man alive, so you still technically have what feels like a 3v3, but not anymore, as he's the last one saying to get closed out by New Jersey right here, putting the game at a 4-4 and continuing the little back and forth we have going in here in Garrison. Just overall looking pretty fun to commentate when you sit there and see these guys, but you know, the gunfights can only last so long. We got to see these bomb plants coming in when you're playing the likes of Search and Destroy.
Hey, Garrison is just such a punishing map when it comes down to trying to execute these sites. This is where a lot of players are missing smokes, but the adaptations don't necessarily come through as far as how can we work a quick plant comparatively to, say, you know, Miami or even Checkmate or Raid, for example. But you can see the adaptations coming through as far as crossfires are concerned. Just trying to read players' positionings and trying to set these up for off the spawn, where it comes down to XM4s, open up the opportunity for SMGs to work through the middle of the map. And that's really just slowed up for Records. I mean, yes, they are 10-5 still, but when you have these different plays, such as the very aggressive play coming through for Cool Tux on an offense, nevertheless, for Brock University, it opens things up. So that way you can start seeing the space start to be take for Brock. They want this B site, but just a little bit too quick. Kool-Aid gets traded out, and that's a bomb dropped.
Yeah, you got Money G right there, getting that man, getting Kool-Aid and closing out that bomb right there. Overall, when you sit there, they don't have the benefit of us. It's seeing that they do have, like, they were kind of fully open right there on that B side. They could have gotten that bomb down if they wanted to, just creating that pressure and putting these guys in NJIT in the position where it feels like they're on offense at that time, having to sit there and move in on that bomb. As we do see Zebus sees the man, gets that close, as well as Money G closing out Chugs right there. Overall, just making sure these guys don't get an opportunity to retaliate, even sit there and close these guys up from getting on the bomb as we see this diffuse going down. And it looks like they're playing ring around the rosy of who decides. Are they going to play rock, paper, scissors to see who gets it? Is that what's going on here?
I'd be about it. But you see, that round closure right there is the exact reason why you don't see quick plant. You will never see quick plants, and why a lot of players do miss smokes to a certain degree. It's because Garrison Search and Destroy. If that opportunity right there, you smoke your way in, you quickly plant the bomb, you're back inside the vent scot-free. But you have Zebes on top catwalk, you had one player over by square, and the second the bomb was getting planted, the information was already there for Jersey. The moment that the bomb gets planted, you try to escape. You had the player for Brock University try to cover the player that was planting the bomb. They both drop, and now you're left in a 1v-odd situation. If you have a smoke to clear your exit there, you could be looking at an entirely different round. But the entire head struggle going back and forth as far as these openings for Garrison Control now leans in the favor for Jersey Institute. They are now up on map point 5-4, and they got first blood on the Shugs.
Yeah, and we've seen it back and forth with the likes of Brock being ahead, but now Jersey finally has the momentum that they've been looking for so far. You know, they finally had this point advantage, and it's right here on round point overall. So Money G needs to be possibly looking over here at Electrical, trying to look for the likes of this guy, looking at possibly Records, who's now rotating out. These guys that are once again going for B. We see Kool-Aid and Money G going off at a little face-off right here. As Kool-Aid's probably just going to wait it out, but just waiting for his death is all it looks like as locks the man down. So we see him pushing up a little bit more, playing a little aggressive, looking here on bricks, possibly looking at A, but you know, JT Speed in the meantime is going to close out Cool Talks, and Records being the only man alive, if he was the one to do it, he didn't exactly get around to it as NJIT finally closes out the search and destroy on Garrison, and overall with a 6-4 lead.
And again, I mean, Records 10-6 has a very impressive KD ratio, but it's just not enough to close out a map. And I know that the hard point you see just above Mick's head was only 1 second in between, but you go back, Records was the player that had to break inside P4, got the shrieks, was able to then almost hold P5 solely by their own self, called in streaks for their own sanity, and still couldn't break it. It was like a 1v odd situation constantly for Records. And even inside the search and destroy, yes, Kool-Aid and Tux was able to find a couple of kills. Chugs was being first blooded almost every other round. Records was fighting one, if not two. And even on the defense, they were just that lone player that was over by the A site, playing that tac satellite dish, just waiting for the cross. They were always very timely with their executes. But Jersey Institute Red, I mean, even though they lost a couple of rounds, offense and defense alike, again, it came out of those adaptations. They were reading where BU Red were playing, and they were like, okay, well, this is where we have to then execute off the rip. Defense or offense, we have to look at these angles. This is where we could find first blood. We have to be able to keep our lives. They just planted the bomb. Let's execute. We got 2 quick kills. Brilliant retakes coming through from New Jersey Institute Red. And now they find themselves up on series point 2-0 over BU Red. And with the checkmate control looming in the distance here, Mick, it's not looking too good for Brock University.
No, it's not. You know, it's still totally it's still possible for these guys on Brock University. You know, we really just have to sit there and see on how they're feeling on checkmate today. You know, because these guys overall, we saw that they can contend on hardpoint. I mean, we haven't seen their control yet today so far, but I mean, if they can sit there and perform the way they have been so far, especially when it comes to these respawn modes, they could definitely close this out. And once it comes around to hardpoint, they had the momentum on checkpoint at that time. So overall, I mean, this is still completely doable. And at that time and point, we're going to be all the way back to raid, search, and destroy. We've seen raid. Now we see search and destroy. So Lord knows if we can come back around to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's going to be very enticing, to say the least, to be able to see if the likes of BU Red can bite back versus New Jersey, because even at the end of it, when you lose just by a single second on a hard point, yes, it does quite literally zap all the momentum and all the passion out of you. And even in that search and destroy, a lot of life was still there for BU Red, but they have to bounce back, because on the other side of this break, we go to control. Don't go anywhere. We potentially have the conclusion between New Jersey Institute Red versus BU Red, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with College COD Bravo.
Welcome back to CCL Week 5. We got a real ringer going on right here with New Jersey Institute of Technology, I apologize, and as well as Brock University Red. We have an advantage by New Jersey right now, up 2-0, but this is the first time we're seeing checkmate so far. We're seeing control for the first time tonight, so anything's doable from either one of these teams. We got a lot of upfront trades going here on this plane, going over there on the A site, as these guys on BU Red having such a strong start, trying to get on that point, but overall, not exactly able to close it out, as New Jersey's going to get there first and have the first couple kills as well.
Tough spot to be in if you are Brock University Red. You're already sitting at 50% overall for your win-loss ratio for control through this first split. You have not played checkmate control, and well, this is an own beast within its own self. You can just see how damning it is just to try to maneuver through these zones and these open lanes where XM4s and Krigs can just tear you into Swiss cheese, Mick. But Money G, they will completely capture the A zone. So another 60 seconds on the board here. Be looking towards this B zone, and not too bad as far as lives are concerned. And a couple trades ended up coming through. You're mostly at this point just looking to slow things down if you are New Jersey. Try to get top lane control. Maybe try to figure out where BU Red are playing before you get feet on this B zone.
Yeah, we see Money G get another kill right there. Overall, just doing a great job as this man closed out a couple kills right up front alongside the likes of Locks, who's been doing great all day. JT Speed finally, you know, catching up with that speed, getting himself into a position where he's tying up with the rest of the guys, because Money G and Locks, it just seemed like it was these two guys as the antagonist, Kool-Aid as the protagonist, and, you know, Lord knows what they can come out with in the end. We see him getting a kill right here, Locks trading it out as well, and these men just being really close here on lives, only having to look at this B site as they got likes of Money G looking for that flank control you were just mentioning, sitting there using every utility that he has on his belt, but it's not going to matter because defense is going to be there to close the man out. But Money G is going to get that kill. He's going to make it worth it, closing out Kool-Aid. And coming in with the flank, trying to put themselves on this B site, but not able to close that out as Records and Cool Tucks are there to show that they aren't going to give it up that easily.
That's the last remaining player. Records will drop and dispose of them. It comes down to like you were already talking about, Mika. The lives, again, they are even, but this comes down to when you start realizing that it's checkmate. Winning an offensive side on checkmate control is very tough to do, even all the way up to the pro level mix. So you might just want to end up chalking this. Maybe just try to zone away, find a couple kills. That way you can really set yourself up for a round 5 defense. Because if you're new to COD and you are unfamiliar with the way that Cold War does things, whoever has the most kills from all players combined, you will get that defensive side for round 5. It does end up going the distance, but 25 seconds remaining and try to stop this clock. New Jersey are actually finding a good couple kills. The 2-for-1 trade. They are zoning away through the middle of the plane. Can stop this clock here.
Yeah, we do see BU try to hold this down. And overall, New Jersey not looking like they can exactly close it out, but Money G giving it his best shot. Closing on Kool-Aid, JT closing in Tux, and Chugs right there, getting that double, trying to get on the point. At least get a tick right here, and Money G and him are going to try and close it in as best as possible. They got 6 seconds left on the clock. We saw some crazy, 0.37 seconds left yesterday to get that last point, so anything's possible today as we see JT still holding it out, hitting the man in his back right there, but not getting that kill overall. And we see lots of back and forth with 3 nope, now 1, not able to get that finish, but Brock University get the first round here. Close overall, it feels like we do see a lot of kills, and that's what checkmate is all about. Because, I mean, this is where usually the best teams I've seen so far, those high-ranked ones like the Ottawa and UTI, I mean, they've loved facing on this map because they sit there and they duke it out, and it really shows that these open areas, who has the better gunfight skills and who can sit there and win the king of hills, which would be that plane control.
AAAR solo SMG setups are pretty good for a checkmate control. Again, playing these long lines of sight, get a sub inside the plane can absolutely be a nuisance to deal with, and you get an AR on top of the wings, just slowly taking the map away from your opponents. And this little mental strategy works both defense and offense, but as we swap sides, going for the offense for Brock University, their red rosters toying with the belly of the plane. JT Speed is up in the plane cabin itself. Those are the hits coming through for B, and well, yeah, it's not exactly an easy zone to take initially, but Records and Kool-Aid, they will be the last players remaining. Now it's just Records, Money G can't even get them down. So the first thing of progress is going to be good for Records, the sole player remaining.
Yeah, and just as you talk about Records, the man's the first one to be turned into a record as it gets a hole through the middle of the head right there, because the man sits there. He was the last one to try and close it on that B site, but looking forward, he's trying. They're probably maybe looking at A site this time around, because I mean, you had such a strong establishment over on B. But Zebus isn't exactly going to let that happen just yet, but he's going to get closed out as well, because I mean, these men are going back and forth, and when you really sit there and look at control, you're trying to establish yourself across the map, going back and forth, putting these defenders on their toes where they don't exactly know where to allocate themselves. But it looks like they're going to have a second go at B side over here, with Chugs pushing in on A possibly, or just getting that open control right there under the plane as he's going to cross under the middle, try and help out Kool-Aid over here as these two are going to face up against Locks.
Lives are even, and so for BU Red, they're just constantly just throwing numbers, just threatening B, always constantly threatening B. They get a second tick of progress. It's still being contested. 30 seconds remaining. JT Speed finds himself a bit of a pinch, tries to get the shot on the Records at range, but now we're just into dire. 25 seconds remaining. You are not going to fully capture the speed zone, so you have to stop it over at A. It's unsuccessful for BU Red, and well, now you just have an open season. New Jersey are just flourishing towards the spawn. BU Red can barely even move.
And I'm sure that's exactly what they were looking for. If you can sit there and keep on going back and forth. I mean, New Jersey only sit there and maintain not to get to get that B side when it came around to them being on offense. But now they're on defense. They didn't let a single point overall being taken. And they're going to try and sit there and lock down this B side with 3.8 seconds left on the map. Ooh, but Locke's not able to sit there and remember that a man's still on there, reversing that progress and keeping it going. But they get both men off, get BU Red totally cleared out as they're going to get their first point on the board and possibly able to bring this back and close out the series if they can. Because, I mean, when you're in their situation, you realize that you're pretty aggravated how you couldn't exactly get that first point, get that B site that first time around. So, I mean, going forward, these guys, they just have to sit there and look for a new way to make an approach and get themselves to close out a round.
Again, defense for defense. That's how typically things go as far as checkmate control is concerned. And Well, as the player lags out, I'm sure that we will probably, yep, yeah, just go right back to our faces. So we'll make a nice little mental note that, yes, it is one apiece. It was about to be another offense for New Jersey. So that's what's about to be very interesting again. So that little feature that I was just already talking about at the end of round number 1 is not going to be there when we get inside the lobby reset. Going back and forth for that round number 5, we are tied up one apiece as far as control is concerned. But yeah, expect a lot of defense is concerned. It is so hard to string together zones on control, Mick. Not unless you do get your ARs constantly in power positions, and not unless you get a submachine gun inside the spawns for the offensive side of things to really just start whittling down the numbers and always have things in a 2v4 situation is really how I've only seen offensive rounds come through on Checkmate. You saw 2 different takes of it. New Jersey went immediately for A. They were successful. They captured it. They lost a lot of lives trying to work that B zone with still about 2 minutes on the board. And on the other side of things, for Brock, they tried to go for that B zone early. They made it all the way to about 2.5 ticks. With about 25 seconds remaining, they then shifted their focus over towards A. You lose so many more lives when trying to work your way over towards B, given how open that entire zone is. It's the same thing for P3 on Checkmate Hardpoint. It's just you're getting beamed from so many different angles. You get a little bit more cover to work with over on that A zone. It's a little bit more safety as far as the guarantee is concerned. And even if we did make it towards round number 5, the kill disparity as far as lives are concerned, making it all the way down to it as far as how that second round went for Brock's offense, New Jersey absolutely slaughtered them.
Yeah, and that's real concerning if you're in Brock's situation. I mean, these guys, they sat there. This is probably going to be the way to where they find that momentum and find that, little hoorah to keep on going and get themselves into that hard point, get themselves to that S&D match coming up. But that's only what they're hoping for right now, because when we saw that they couldn't exactly close out that, the offensive round, and it was a little bit weaker than how New Jersey's was. That's a little bit concerning, especially in the likes of Checkmate, with how open it is, how many kind of engages that are going on back and forth. You don't have that much to cover to work with, as you said, and you're trying to sit there and establish yourself on that king of the hill situation when you're on plane. So, I mean, when you're looking at that and you're really looking at a map that's just a lot of back and forth and just easy little picks right down the middle to where it just comes down to who's the better gunman, then the better position there with how much it's kind of locked off in the middle there. Overall, if you're not winning that right off the bat, that's a concerning sight going forward, especially in the likes of Brock when they're hoping for this to be their kind of last little chance to keep on going and possibly get to that raid S&D at the end. But right now, that's kind of what's the scariest thing for them, is if they can't even get the chance to get around to that.
Yeah, definitely hoping to be able to see that come to be if you are a fan of Brock. Not too sure where our lobby's at here, Connie, as I can only see our beautiful faces on the screen right now. Yeah, okay, that's what I was mostly looking to see. If maybe we got a scattering pair, maybe somebody has to reinstall the entire game. There's so many little fun quirks to Call of Duty Cold War, Mick. We're still figuring out a lot of them ourselves, even though we work with the game almost every single damn day. So we'll throw things to a very quick break, but don't go anywhere. Stick with us, because we'll have the conclusion of Checkmate Control on the other side of it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We do have the lobbies right in it, back into it, and Records is getting right into a kill right here, as well as Chugs. We see these guys already sitting there getting a couple picks. Brock's having a little bit better of an opener than they were looking at earlier. These guys getting themselves a little break. We're sitting at a 1-1, but now Brock possibly able to sit there and, probably get that momentum roll they're looking for overall. As we sit there and getting a lot more kills. So they're having a bigger lives advantage now, and these guys finally looking for a chance to, win this defensive round, lock down New Jersey once again, and then able to turn the tides once it comes around and then be on offense again. Jesus, we look at Kool-Aid right here.
Yeah, lobby reset. It seems like it's going to be pretty good for Kool-Aid. They are now 4-2, but it's not going to be an easy go of things. It's New Jersey on the offense again. They had just previously won the defensive round. It's been all defense so far, Mick, but in the previous offense for Jersey, they were at least able to get the A zone. Not successful so far. Quick little Diamatti swap. Nice help from Locke to lock down that kill on a Kool-Aid, but quick 2 swap comes through for Tux, and now an opportunity presents itself. Money G will touch the A zone. That'll stop the clock at 15 seconds.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what you're looking for when you're in the shoes of New Jersey right now, because, I mean, you felt so comfortable earlier, but, getting that point and then getting that good little defensive round going, shutting out the likes of Brock University. But now, I mean, in this situation, these guys, they want to sit there and lock it out because, I mean, overall, when you're the likes of Kool-Aid and Cool Tux right now and Chugs, I mean, you're all feeling pretty cool. I mean, all these guys are just kind of breezing through it. They're feeling icy. You know, they're staying frosted. They're doing what they can. I mean, that's exactly the kind of attitude you're looking for. I mean, obviously they had some words for Kool-Aid once he joined back into that lobby because, I mean, man, he just had a complete, 180. But now in the situation of 180s, he's now gone from positive to negative, seeming to slow down a little more.
Just like the gameplay on your screen, 1 minute on the board. Clock was stopped marginally. I believe the first tick of progress actually ended up coming through. Yeah, it sure did. So, Jersey, looking at a win condition. It's not going to come through from lives, but one good wipe by this is all they need making. Well, top lane control is about to be good for Money G, but Records sometimes will flush them out. Zebes will be able to find a trade at least, but you're just with these 8 lives that are remaining. You really hope for Jersey just to slow things down. Play for the respawns, play for reinforcements. Nice 2 kills, and that could be the opportunity to get themselves on that B zone and stop that clock.
Yeah, because I'm sure at this point, these guys are feeling pretty good when they see they already have a whole kind of tick on that B side right now, and they're already kind of closing in on that second one, especially when you're playing the likes of a tablet, getting these kill streaks going in, and then it's just closing out everybody without even having to poke yourself out. I mean, Money G, he's just straight chilling right now as he sits there and adds an exclamation point to the round, getting the likes of a kill right off the bat once he puts that little phone up and, stops checking on what's going on in the daily news.
Yeah, that actually completely caught me off guard. I did not even see that Money G was starting to shriek. It must have been a quick little ending of a 6 streak that we had missed here on production side of it. That little artillery strike. That little artillery strike that ended up coming through was nice to zone away for Brock. How the hell were they going to try to work their way out of the zone? I mean, checkmate is hard enough to already miss or already find value in as far as streaks are concerned, but those handful of kills that came through, Jersey were down in lives. They win the first offensive round for checkmate control. Now up on series point and up on map point as well to close it out here in 3.
We see these guys already getting this plane control, but that may be the one to cost them because we see these guys on BU Red already sitting there on the A site, closing it out really, really quickly. I mean, Zeva's trying his best to try and get it on there. Locke's actually, retaliating, getting themselves on that point to go ahead and, slow that progress down a little bit more. But, I mean, New Jersey's going to be right back to trying to get on it, as well as Brock, who's doing a great job of, filling it up, sitting at 2.5, but finally getting a chance to slow it down. And at this point, I mean, when you're in the situation to be, you could even be looking at this B side for a little bit, but I mean, they're just persistent about that A side because, I mean, when you sit there and get so much time on it right off the bat, especially when you had the likes of, Kool-Aid, who was doing well last round, Cool Tugs and Records and Chugs, who's following it up this round and helping the whole team out. I mean, you could sit there and allocate yourselves a little bit more evenly across these points and sit there and put these guys on defense and New Jersey on their toes because, I mean, Money G can only be in so many places at one time.
JT Speed is quite literally being dragged through the concrete of checkmate so far. 2-9, 4-10 for Zebes. Locks at 13-8, 16-6 for Money G. And Money G's in their spawn. 2-6 of progress to speak up by A. It's not exactly what you're feeling comfortable on if you are a fan of Brock. This is a much-needed round. You gotta get this A zone. You gotta somehow get the hell out of your spawn. There's 20 seconds remaining for Christ out loud. And Brock is trying to work their way through the plane, but right into the sightlines of Lux. And they are just beaming you down, baby. We'll touch the A zone to stop the clock marginally at 14.4 seconds. But Cool Tucks, they will be cut down to size. 10 seconds remaining. In Jersey, they will be able to close out the series.
Yeah, that's not what you're looking for in the States of Brock. Yeah, it's such a strong start right there, you guys. I mean, they even sat there and established themselves on that last round. It is so good right there in the opener, but they're finally switching out on the B side, finally splitting themselves up and giving the defenders a situation where they have to make a choice of go on to A or B. But Cool Tuck's managing to actually win that fight against Money G somehow. Closing that out as we still got on both sides. Get the time over on A. And they're still continuing this. Brock living another day right now as they are down 5-9 lives overall, but they're now looking at B site, and that's a hell of a lot harder to get any attention from.
3v9. All right, Chugs, Kool-Aid, and Records. What do you have to offer? Records was teeing on off all series long. Now has to go big to be able to close it out. Semtex is going to flush out JT Speed. No, it's just going to stand their ground for the time being. But 1v1, now 2v8 situation. Brock are reeling. They're trying to stop the clock on B. Records drops, is able to find another one, but now in a 1v5. If there's one player you believe in, Brock, it's gotta be Records. What do you got?
Oh, man, he's got 33 seconds to work with. I mean, earlier we saw JT speeding the likes of a 1v3, but I don't know what we could see. Well, Wrecker's getting a kill right there in a 1v4 situation now. I mean, he's getting his time on. He's getting another. He's on the point. Oh, not able to close it out, man. We tried. We tried, man. We were hoping Wreckers could do something. He did a little bit, but not all of it.
Records came out. He almost was completely with a 1v5 clutch. All he needed to find one more kill. Probably would have been able to get that last stick of progress on B single-handedly. I tell you what, man. I was really just pointing up that was going to be the end, at the end, over by the A zone. Was not the case, excuse me, Brock University, because when it came down to just about 18 seconds or 8 seconds remaining, they get an extra 60, and they almost clutch out the round. Well, Records almost clutches out the round, but I tell you, man, Money G coming in hot like a freight train. They were spreeing, they were streaking, going into the spawn of Brock Red. Just absolutely nothing you could do that early on. I also got lots. They dropped like 20-plus kills, even in a lobby reset through 2 different rounds, averaging about like 10, 12 kills per round, even in a lobby reset. That is impressive, to say the least. They were shooting nukes out of that XM4 in that new lobby. So New Jersey Institute Technology, Red, they will take this in a 3-0. That was a interesting match, to say the least. We thought it was going to be continuously close. So you see just right above Mick said, yes, 1 second, 250 to 249. Right at the end from 5-1 for that raid hardpoint. But Garrison Search and Destroy was definitely offering a lot of interesting tactics as far as crossfires and team shots in the lobby reset there at Checkmate Control. Mick will now have New Jersey feeling pretty darn skippy ahead of split number 2 in the rest of their split number 1 matches.
Yeah, and especially, I'm sure they're super happy for the position they're in right now. I mean, these guys, they're not, as we said earlier, I mean, they're not in the upper echelon or anything, but they're definitely not at the bottom of the leaderboards by any means. I mean, these guys are definitely competing. We saw tonight, especially the likes of BU Red, they may be beating themselves up with the fact that, you got guys who have, one more loss than you do. But I mean, with the way you sit there and beat them in Checkmate Control, I mean, you sit there and have a little slip up here and there, but I mean, it's all in the end just a lot of learning opportunities for these guys, because I mean, going forward, I mean, when you have such tough competition inside of your division overall, I mean, that's something you really have to look at, because I mean, even going into conferences and things like that, looking forward overall, I mean, you have such threats to sit there and deal with over the course of the season that, I mean, this is kind of like a sign for them as much as it is a blessing, because I mean, we saw with that hard point how close it was, the S&D how close it was, and it's just looking at Brock going forward. These guys may still just be in that domination mindset of Modern Warfare and not exactly having control over control, because I mean, these guys need to sit there and figure out how to get together, especially when you're facing the likes of the teams who are close to you. I mean, think about when you're facing guys who they haven't won a single or haven't lost a single round this whole season.
Yeah, so it's this very scary spot to be in, but a nice little strength as far as the showcasing is concerned for this New Jersey Institute Technology roster. Again, they finishing 6-2. They still have a handful of more matches ahead of them before we end up shaking things up for split number 2. But yeah, you are facing and looking down the likes not only for Carleton Ravens, but also got Sheridan, Ryerson, Humbers on the other side of this. Just so many strong teams within this metropolitan region. Is just going to be so freaky when we do end up coming around towards April to see what split number 2 does have to offer. But I mean, for Brock University Red, I mean, this is a even tougher spot to be in, because I mean, you still have, again, you have Carleton Ravens solely up to face. You just lost against NJIT, but now this is an opportunity for the other teams that are starting to creep their way in, such as like Cornell University, Utica Esports, RIT Black, that are just from 6 all the way down inside the speed division for the metropolitan region to start creeping their way in against Boulder or against Brock University Red here to be able to make their way in for a top half team for split number 2. Will be an interesting shakeup as far as this region is concerned, but ahead of all the other matches, Brock, for how they might be able to look for split number 2, it's 100% in their hands.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, we've seen plenty of potential out of these guys. We saw all these Brock players standing up right there at the end, like Kool-Aid and things like that, especially right after a disconnect. I mean, they have a strong start, but overall, I mean, especially we can just see it whittled down, not even the course of a single round, but as you can look at the scoreboard above me. It just seems like it just diminishes over the course of a series as well. So, I mean, they just got to sit there and make sure to get a little bit more stamina in the tank. And that, I mean, they had the full potential to sit there and run this once the later stages of the season come in.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And now we're gonna. I mean, as far as stamina is concerned, we'll have to see what these teams are going to be able to offer because they are not done yet. They are not done as far as split number one is concerned. We are not done for College COD. Again, as week 5 does come to a close, we are now looking towards week number 6. Split number 2 is on the horizon here for us, Mick, and I couldn't be any more excited. Again, so many other teams are really starting to be figured out. So many other teams are starting to be shaken loose as far as what they can offer. Our top 25 power rankings are going every little bit of direction I think is possible. Teams are dropping 8 positions. Nobody's contesting Ottawa or Concord Maroon as far as top 3 is concerned, but still for split number 2 and even playoffs coming down the line, a lot more competition still has to develop. A lot more teams still have to be developed. More GAs to come as well. Hey, who the hell knows what we're going to be looking like when it comes down to April. What weapons we're going to play with? What streets are going to be played with? I don't know. What map change? Hard points could be in the sky. Coming towards April. I'm not too sure, but I'm here for it, man. Here for it.
Yeah, and talking about GAs that could, possibly come in. Maybe some could leave. Maybe we could be seeing snipers again. That would totally change. That'd be a whole new league going on now at that point. But that's to look into in the future. That's future discussions to be had. But overall, when it really comes down to, we got to close out today. So pleasure sitting there casting with you. Overall, as our whole kind of off week goes, we got a lot of guys switching out positions. We're all going to be heading home now, it looks like. So overall, looking forward to that as we sit there and close out week 5 with New Jersey, Brock, Mick, and Proper. So we'll see you guys around next week, and enjoy yourselves.